So I think the thing about Campbell Law that is somewhat unique is that it's comprised of 3 attorneys who have comparable but just different enough experiences to make it kind of an interesting place. Eric Veith, Alicia Campbell, myself, we all work consumer cases. We've all argued at the Missouri Supreme Court. We've all handled cases at a number of different courts. We've briefed cases before the U.S. Supreme Court and the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, Missouri Court of Appeals, Illinois. We've briefed cases in the Illinois courts. We've litigated cases in probably a dozen states when you add it all up. We're licensed in Missouri, Illinois, and New York cumulatively, soon to add Colorado. So we can work a case anywhere, and I think we can work any case. We've litigated cases against some of the biggest law firms, not just in the country, but in the world. And what I've learned about that is some people say, well, how can a small firm handle a case against a Sutherland or a Squire Sanders or whatever, or Greenberg Toreg? Some of those are top 20 type firms. They have 1,000 attorneys. They have 25 offices. How is that? What I've learned is that you're really just litigating a case against the 2 or 3 attorneys on the other side. They don't bring all 1,000 attorneys, and they couldn't, because those 1,000 attorneys work all sorts of areas of law all over the world. Some of them are very good at immigration law in China. They're not a hell of a lot of use on a consumer law case. So you end up litigating against 2 or 3 attorneys. And when you do, if you come prepared, and if you're a good lawyer, it does not matter how big the other firm is. In fact, we have settled cases and taken cases to the appellate courts and won cases against these firms because we can and do know how to work them up. And I think something that makes Campbell Law interesting is that every attorney at Campbell Law has tried cases. Every attorney at Campbell Law has stood in front of a jury and picked a jury. They've listened to a jury's verdict. Every attorney at Campbell Law has stood up in front of an appellate court and looked at a panel of 3 judges and had to answer those tough questions on the fly. And so when we say to someone on the other side, if this case doesn't resolve, that's okay. We can handle it as far as it goes, and we'd like to do that. I think there's credibility there, and that makes a difference. The general public may or may not know this, but there are plenty of attorneys with a reputation for not wanting to be in a courtroom. And I think Campbell Law's reputation is precisely the opposite. We're attorneys that are most comfortable in a courtroom. I would give anybody who's considering Campbell Law, I mean, you ask me, well, how would someone evaluate Campbell Law? Well, I mean, I give you 2 ways to evaluate Campbell Law that I think are valid. They're sort of related. The first way to evaluate Campbell Law is to say, take a look at what they've accomplished. And I would measure that in terms of what have they done on cases and what do their peers say about them. And so at our firm, we've won awards such as, Alicia and I both won awards as up-and-coming lawyer. All 3 of us are recognized as super lawyers. Alicia and I as rising stars. Eric as a super lawyer. Eric and I won the most influential appellate attorney awards, which is for the entire state of Missouri, given by Missouri Lawyers Weekly, 2 of the last 3 years. The year before that, we had best appellate win. Alicia was voted one of the attorneys that you should call if the bank's going to try to take your house. Eric and I last year had the 9th largest settlement or verdict in the state. The year before that, I was ranked as one of the winningest plaintiff's attorney in the state. So we have had success. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to say, if I were hiring a lawyer, I'd want more than them saying they're good. And I think the way to measure is not whether they say they're good at things, but whether or not they can produce results. And if you look at the results, and we have a results page, we have places where we list that on our site. And if you look at that, you'll see that we've had success. I think the other way to measure that is to ask, what do peers say? And of course, some of the awards come from peers. So in our firm, we've won a professionalism award. I won an award called the John C. Shepard Award. And I'm probably most proud of that of anything I've ever won. And it has nothing to do with my win rate or how many appeals I've handled. It has to do with whether or not you deal with your opponents in a way that is professional, in a way that keeps the integrity in the legal profession. We've all heard of lawyers that give lawyers a bad name. And I think Campbell Law prides itself in being a firm that has lawyers who care about doing the right thing, who deal with their opponents in a professional way, who are zealous for their clients, but understand that doesn't mean you're a jerk. And we've found a way to work cases I'd also throw out this challenge. I've heard I think this is a fair way to say it. I would invite anybody who's considering Campbell Law to pick up the phone and call any defense firm in St. Louis. It's because we certainly are headquartered there and they'll know us best. And just ask them what they think about any attorney at Campbell Law. I just invite them to give them a call and say, what do you think of John Campbell, Eric Veith, and Alicia Campbell? And if they tell you something bad, don't call us back. But I think most of them will, one, recognize the names, and two, will say they do good work. Now, you might want to call people that handle class actions and consumer cases, because Campbell Law does consumer law, appellate law, and class actions. Doesn't mean that if somebody calls and has been seriously injured that we won't talk to them. It doesn't mean we won't take their case. We've all worked cases like that. We've all handled employment discrimination cases. But we focus and spend the vast majority of our time on those three areas: consumer, class, and appellate. Why? Because if you focus and you spend your time on a few things, you get very good at them, and you develop a reputation for them. So that is what we do the most of. They have something in common, and that is they're all complex litigation. There are a variety of forms of law out there that, although very worthwhile, in some ways are repetitive, that have some element of being form-driven, of working the same way every time. We don't, for better or worse, handle too many of those. Our cases go up on appeals. Our cases involve new challenges. Our cases involve law that is developing. Our cases involve sometimes what would be called a first impression question, meaning no appellate court has explained what that statute means or how this body of law works with another. And we relish, I think that's something that we do together, is we relish sitting in a room and batting around how to approach this new challenging thing. So when people have those kinds of cases and they give us a call, we sit down and talk with them, and then we make a game plan. And if it's a case we decide to take, we go at it full bore and put all the resources and time into it we need.